want to express my sincere gratitude to everyone who has been subscribing to my channel and liking it. That said, don't forget to hype this video as much as you can. The manhwa begins with a chaotic battle scene right at the beginning. A once grand mansion is now a graveyard, and the servants are paying the ultimate price. They are being slaughtered like animals, one by one. Even those who try to surrender are not spared. We see two swords clashing as two men fight. One man raises his sword and strikes, but the other blocks it with eyes full of rage. We learn about the Ragnar clan, a clan known as the Hounds of Chaos, who guard the empire in the far north of the continent. The reason why the Ragnar clan was able to solidify itself with a great wall in the north for over 1,000 years is due to a special constitution they had. It is said that they inherited dragon blood. All members of the bloodline were born with exceptional magical power, endurance, and talent for the art of the sword. All except the man who is fighting in the moment, as we see it being cut directly in the chest as he falls to the ground bleeding. The man in the robe says that even in the end, he never learns. There are things he can't do no matter how hard he tries, and people refer to this as having no talent. The man asks what he means, and the robed man begins to take off his bandana, saying that the fact that he has no talent despite being in Ragnar's lineage also makes him very bitter. We learn that the name of the Setstyr, the other man, is Theo, and the man in the robe is called Rendon. Theo asks why he is here. Rendon says that watching him train tirelessly every morning despite his lack of talent was truly a pitiful sight, especially when the hard work will get you nowhere. Rendon laughs at him, saying that the nickname Ragnar's asshole was perfect for him. He says that Theo should have gone into hiding, calling him a talentless piece of shit. It's funny to watch him struggle, trying to make something of yourself. Theo grits his teeth, wondering if Rendon sought him out to become his sword instructor and teach him all those useless sword techniques just to sell the Rose Palace to those damn bastards, saying they have no morals. Rendon doesn't even let him continue speaking as he cuts Theo's arm. Theo screams as he begins to bleed even more. Rendon sighs, asking why Theo is blaming him. He then grabs Theo's head, saying that all of this happened because of him. Asking why he can't see it, he points his sword in front of him, telling him to see why the Rose Palace is on fire and why his family members are being slaughtered. Even his mother, as we see her being dragged across the floor, is thrown in front of Theo. Rendon says that the reason she is a lifeless corpse is because of him. Theo starts to feel disturbed, and Rendon tells him that it is all because he is the idiot Ragnar clan. In a clan ruled by the rule of the strongest, it is only natural that this is the fate of those considered weak. Theo calls out to Rendon, then grabs his blade with his remaining hand, yelling at him as he attacks. Another blade flies, piercing Theo directly through his chest, causing him to fall to the ground. The man who threw the blade says that he has had enough of yelling, and that Rendon needs to put an end to this. Rendon apologizes, saying that he was just reminiscing about the past, and that he has already bezens. It's almost over. Theo wonders what he means by this, and if it really is this, that he has achieved nothing in his life. Now he is watching it all burn, and wonders if this is really the fate of someone without talent. He begins to cry bitter tears, saying that if only he had had talent in the first place, maybe things could have been a little different from this shitty outcome. He takes his last breath, and the fire consumes him. Then he sees a status window that says he has died. His Ragnar's Claw trait has been activated, returning him to the regression point. Theo then opens his eyes to a wooden sword, which is none other than Rendon, saying that he looks tired and that he can finish the lesson here today if it is okay with him. Theo is surprised and wonders what is going on. Rendon says that he seems so distracted today, but Theo is really confused, as he just died and thinks it must just be a flashback of his life. He can't believe that the face he's seeing now is Rendon's of all people. He sighs, saying that death decides to be cruel even in its final moments. A status window appears in front of him, and he looks at it. The tutorial mission is to punch Rendon. He wonders what this means as he looks at Rendon. He looks back at the status window, wondering if this is how flashbacks are supposed to work. He doesn't think Rendon can see this. Rendon asks what's wrong, and Theo lowers his sword, saying he doesn't know what's going on and that maybe this is a gift from God, giving him a chance to vent his frustration before leaving. He raises his fist back, saying it may be a dream, but he'll definitely beat Rendon up. We see him come into direct contact with Rendon's face, but Rendon doesn't seem at all bothered. Theo wonders why this dream is so realistic, saying his punch is too soft. This is how it feels when he punches in his dreams. Theo gets angry and then swings his sword, hitting Rendon and knocking him down, saying he thought he said class was over. Theo wonders what is going on and why he is feeling pain in a dream. Rendon sighs, saying he understands Theo's frustration. The awakening ceremony is fast approaching, but he is not seeing any progress despite his efforts. Theo is surprised to hear about the awakening ceremony, but Rendon continues to say that even so, he cannot forgive a student who attacks his master. As a Ragnar, he should have used a sword and not his fist. He walks away, saying he will see him in the next class. Theo sits, wondering what is going on, while he hears the other trainees laughing at him, asking why he is beating his master if he is a talentless idiot. They ask how he can be a Ragnar, saying that he is too incompetent to even be a legitimate son, and that if this is all he can do with the work he has done, then he is doomed. Theo picks up some sand from the ground to calm himself, and then says he cannot believe it. The pain he is feeling now is very vivid and realistic, as he can even feel the sand falling from his hand. He now understands that he is not actually in a flashback, and that everything is real. The air around him suddenly becomes tense, and a chill runs down his spine. He says that the awakening ceremony was 10 years ago. This means that he has returned to the time when he was 17, and he wonders how this is possible. The window appears once again, congratulating him on completing the tutorial mission, and as a reward, Ragnar's talent has been activated. We see the reflection of this in his eyes, and he is still confused. The window then asks if he would like to receive the reward now. He raises his hand and hesitates for a second before clicking yes. Immediately, he feels a different feeling in his chest, as if he is being blessed with the talent of his ancestor. The window then informs him that he has received the reward, and that now all of his stats will increase at a tremendous speed. Theo can't see anything due to the bright light of the quest reward, and wonders what's going on. The window tells him that the next quest is starting. Finally, we get to see the Rose Palace in all its glory, as it hasn't been destroyed yet. Someone puts down his tea and says that he sees Rendon. He says that, to be honest, he's never seen someone so talentless. We learn that Rendon's full name is Rendon Harvey, and he says that's why he's here as a true teacher. Rendon will teach him the best he can and make Theo strong enough for the awakening ceremony in at least 5 months. The woman says that she'll leave him with him, and it's none other than Theo's mother, Cecilia, the lady of the Rose Palace. She gives Rendon a whole bag of money, saying that she hopes he can pay more attention to Theo. Rendon says that he plans to teach him day and night, and not to worry. Cecilia smiles, saying that she's not worried and that she believes in Theo. Back in Rendon, leaving after the meeting, he laughs, saying that she will have to worry, even though she is not teaching Theo properly. It is true that he has no talent whatsoever. He calls her a concubine, saying that like mother, like son, and that blood has no future. He looks at the money, saying that this is great and that it is an exceptional payment. He has the title of Tutor of Ragnar's direct line as a reward for having revealed information about Theo and interfered in his growth. This person has secured his future. It seems that the imbecile Ragnar will be his benefactor. He then looks ahead and sees Theo running straight towards him, asking what he is doing. Theo runs past him down the hallway, and Rendon clicks his tongue in annoyance and then yells, calling Theo a loser. We see that Theo is super excited to see his mother and runs in, yelling her name. She turns to see him out of breath, and he hugs her. She tells him that he must be tired from today's training too. However, she is surprised by the hug and asks what he is doing. He starts to cry, just happy to finally be back 10 years ago. He remembers the last moments he looked at his mother's corpse and how much it weighed on him at that moment, realizing how talentless he really was. We see him cry with joy as he says that he needs to change the future. His mother is confused. Theo explains that right now, he is weak and has nothing to his name, but if the mysterious message window is real, he can become stronger. He wants to be strong enough to maintain his position in the succession war for the throne, which will help him fight against all the others who have a claim to it. He continues to hug his mother, and we see him start to make an angry face as he says that he also needs to be strong enough to take revenge on Rendon. The next mission is for him to train his body to its limit, and he is at 0% of 100%. That night, we hear someone running while Theo is carrying the cheek, saying that he really wants to take revenge on Rendon right now, but he can't do anything with his weak body, so he needs to focus on getting stronger first. The intelligence agency he immersed himself in his previous life was called Black Word. He was reported to the intelligence team because his ability was this direct, but he never expected that he would use the information he obtained in this way. He thinks about the potion that greatly strengthens the body, called the Blood Sword Emperor's Elixir, and its true value will be revealed in the future in a secret manual. Most importantly, the extreme training he had given up on due to his lack of talent. We see Theo training all night continuing to run flawlessly. All of these things he couldn't do before are now possible due to Ragnar's talent being activated. This means that the window is real. He gained 27% overnight. Some of the other trainers wonder how many laps he ran without stopping, wondering if he's always been in such good shape. Theo says that with this, he'll run as far as he could before and swing farther than he ever could in his past life, as he'll truly become the most powerful he can be. How many times have they really trained this hard? He's now 65% of the way to achieving his goal. A few days later, it's nighttime again in the training area, and someone is watching Theo swing his sword like crazy. She yawns, and we learn that she's the manager of this training ground, and that her name is Evelyn. She says that he has been training hard these past few days, and that she doesn't know how he got the title of Ragnar's idiot, because from her point of view, it's impossible for him to have no talent if he kept training like this without stopping. We see that Theo is now 97% of the way there, but his eyes are completely filled with determination. He swings his blade again, saying that he will complete his goal. We get a flashback to the night before, when he was only at 90%. While he was resting, the percentage actually decreased, which surprises him, because this means that he can't rest and has to push himself to the real limit of his body. So he has been training for 2 days straight without a break. He swings his sword again, saying that they forced him not to stop until the end. He has gained another percentage, and we see him pull back his sword, swinging it upwards, saying that he is almost there. He runs off the ground, saying that he just needs to push himself a little harder, because now he has gained another percentage by running a little. His eyes are still full of fire, but his body looks tired. He says he will train until he can no longer breathe. Evelyn is surprised by what she is witnessing, as he is running around the arena like a madman, trying to get that last percentage. We see him on the verge of fainting, until he finally goes from 99% to 100%, and he immediately looks relieved when the window informs him that he has completed the second tutorial mission. As a reward, he has obtained a dragon heart. As an additional reward for completing it so quickly, he has received 10 years of magical power from his past life and collapses to the ground out of sheer exhaustion. The window then asks if he would like to receive the rewards now. Very shakily, he raises his hand, tapping yes, and the system begins to give him the rewards. He closes his eyes, waiting for it, while we see a blue aura emanating from him as he lies on the ground. Evelyn can see it and also feel the shockwaves it is generating, completely surprised. Sometime later, we see Theo open his eyes in bed, looking around and wondering where he is. Evelyn enters, telling him not to worry and that this is the break room for training camp number 4. She comments that even a Ragnar would collapse if he exerted himself like this. Theo says her name, and she is surprised that he remembers her, introducing herself again. She explains that he lost consciousness while training alone in the morning, so she brought him here. He says he understands and thanks her. Evelyn still seems curious about something and hands him a drink, saying that he surely knows that in the Ragnar clan, it is forbidden to open the mana hall before the awakening ceremony. He says yes, and she asks if he knows what will happen if he breaks that rule. He drinks, wondering why she is asking. Evelyn says that right before he lost consciousness, a surge of mana occurred that aligns with the opening of a mana hall. He is surprised, and her tone instantly changes, asking if he really did open it. Theo wonders what she is talking about, saying that if he had opened it, he would not be alive. Then he feels something in his chest and remembers the dragon heart he received as a reward. He starts sweating nervously, saying that she must be mistaken about the mana hall. We learn that the dragon heart is actually an area where a mana hall can be placed. Placing the mana hall in the heart makes it operate more efficiently, but they are usually placed in the lower abdomen because the human heart cannot handle the mana hall. This is why every warrior like Ragnar craves a dragon heart. It is an easy way to become extremely powerful. However, humans have not been able to overcome their limitations, but now Theo has obtained a dragon heart. He says that the rewards of the quest are incredible, but thanks to this, he is now in an awkward situation with Evelyn. She is a high-level swordswoman and retired after losing her left arm. Although she is only a training camp manager, she used to be the commanding officer of the White Armored Dragon Cavalry. She was so skilled that even the demon dragon of the White Armored Dragon Cavalry worshipped her. Furthermore, she was known as a fiercely principled person. She was not the type to judge someone based on status or strength. She did not care about dishonesty or cowardice. Theo thinks about what to say to her. At one point, when he was being adamant, she had stripped him of his position as her direct master. If she found out about his mana hall, he would be immediately executed by her here and now. He gets nervous and asks if she can handle it, wondering what will happen if he is not caught. He says that she will execute him immediately, just because of her momentary feeling asking if she can handle the consequences. Since he knows her so well, he can use her own personality against her. He says that he is also Ragnar's heir. If they found out that she is suspicious and spreading false rumors, it could be considered a desecration of the name. She says that this is true and that these are the rules. He then asks her if she knows what the punishment is for humiliating an heir. She tells him that she understands that it is execution. He says that it is good that she knows and that she should go ahead and check it out. He just wants to know what this feeling is, asking if he has always been this kind of person. She says that it was definitely a surge of mana. She begins to gather mana in her hand, telling him to forgive her, as she will check it out. She says that even though he is from Ragnar's bloodline, rules are rules, as she is checking his core. She says that there are no exceptions. Evelyn begins to examine his abdomen in search of a mana haul, but of course there is nothing there, and she becomes confused, saying that he does not have a mana haul. This means that she was wrong, and she begins to say that it is not possible. He then asks her whether she felt it or not. She immediately kneels down and begs him to execute her, saying that it seems that she was wrong and that she will pay for her sin with her life. He smiles and says that of course there would be no mana haul, because dragon hearts are different from ordinary mana hauls. The existence of a mana haul means that the user's mana can be freely controlled. In other words, he can hide his mana at will. Furthermore, the fact that humans can have a dragon heart will only be revealed in a few years. She would never have guessed that he is one. He reaches out and pats her on the shoulder, telling her that she does not need to worry. She immediately feels some strange emotions. He says she only did what she had to do, asking if he is wrong. There are not many people who would risk their lives to demand the truth from an heir. He says Evelyn is one of the strongest, and that it will only benefit him if she is in his debt. He explains that the reason the mana halls are restricted from opening before the awakening ceremony is out of concern for mana overflow. The fact that she is concerned about him, Ragnar's bastard, makes him happy. He leaves, thanking her for taking care of him after finding him unconscious. She sits there stunned, wondering what the hell just happened. Theo goes on to say that with the dragon heart and the 10 years of magical power from his past life, he will become incredibly powerful very quickly. A few days pass, and Rendon is yelling that it is not like that Theo needs to swing a little more to the right. He yells, asking how many times he has to explain this simple shit to Theo, but Theo doesn't care, thinking it's good that he's getting stronger while pretending to be weak. However, it's getting on his nerves because he really hates Rendon. He glares at Rendon, realizing that he's deliberately teaching him horrible sword techniques, forcing him to look like a fool. Theo is increasingly certain that there's a mastermind behind Rendon's actions, the person who killed him in his past life. He needs to find out who it was. Theo then realizes something and smiles, saying that there's something he can actually do. He calls out to Rendon, who barks at him, saying that he can't talk during class. Theo says that he can't listen to his lesson anymore because it's shit, breaks his training sword in half, and asks how Rendon became a mid-level swordsman with his third-rate skill level. Theo realizes that Rendon must have been tasked with keeping an eye on him as an instructor. He says he feels like he could fight even low-level demonic beasts. Rendon starts to get irritated, asking what he just said. Theo walks up and asks if he's deaf, saying his skills are rubbish, and that he'll force him to resign. Rendon starts yelling at him, and Theo says that if things go wrong for Rendon, he'll have to get in touch with his brain. The scene jumps to a place called the Palace of Roses, and a man opens the door, calling out to someone named Axion, asking if he's heard that Ragnar's bastard will have a duel with his master next week. Axion sits with his drink in his hand as the man continues, saying that it seems like Theo was blaming his instructor for his lack of talent. He might be somewhat incapacitated after the duel. As the man speaks, Axion throws his drink at him, hitting the guy square in the head on the bar, even cutting his face with the glass, and the man falls to the ground unconscious. Axion asks why the hell it matters to him that a bastard gets crippled. He is one of the 4 hounds of the Dark Tiger of the North. His name is Axion Ragnar, and next to him is one of the 4 hounds of the Dark Lion of the North. His name is Remington Narcio, but he doesn't say anything. Another man enters, saying that this should bother him, as things can go wrong if they let their guard down. He is one of the 9 celestial dragons, and his name is Ed Troyvon. Axion says that this is only true if people are untalented, and tells his uncle that he worries too much, asking why he is worried about a bastard. Ed says that with Ragnar, unprecedented things can happen, even with the slightest possibility, a flame in the wind that can flare up at any moment. Axion says that regardless of all this is great, as this instructor should take care of it for them. It's been a week at the training camp where Theo is staying. All the trainees are laughing, and Evelyn looks worried. Even Julius is there to watch. As Theo raises his blade, He says that this isn't exactly what he wanted to happen. He just wanted Rendon fired after humiliating him, but things got out of hand because the scale is much bigger than he ever imagined. The audience starts to applaud, but Theo calms down, saying that since he's like this, he's going to get revenge on Rendon because the mission of the training camp is now to fight and win. We get a brief flashback of Theo telling Rendon that he's been fired and that he should leave. This makes Rendon even more angry, and he yells that he won't accept this because he still has a lot of time left on his contract. Theo says that he doesn't care about any of this. If his employer says he's fired, then that's it. Considering his past life, he wants to immediately beat him to death, but he is not yet confident in his abilities. First, he will separate from Rendon and find out more information about him. Rendon realizes that this is very bad, because if he is dismissed like this, his mission will be a failure. He needs to convince him somehow. He pleads with Theo, saying that this is against the rules and that he can go to court. At this moment, the status window appears in front of Theo, informing him about his tutorial mission. Evelyn then says that she has a good idea. They should settle this Ragnar's way. She smiles, and Theo asks if she means the rule of the strongest. She says that exactly that. They should decide this based on a sword fight. There is no need for Rendon to go to court, and they will simply follow the will of the victor. Rendon laughs, saying that this is a great idea and that he thinks it will be favorable to him. Evelyn then says that the day will be in a week. Theo is a little surprised, and Evelyn laughs, asking if everything is okay. Theo says that of course it isn't, in his head, because he still can't beat Rendon. The flashback ends, and we return to the present. The interns say that from what they've heard, Theo can't even swing his sword properly, but another one says that it's impossible because he's still at least a Ragnar. His friend continues joking, saying that he wouldn't have said anything if he were a normal Ragnar, but he's the cripple of the Ragnars, so it's not like he can beat a mid-level swordsman. Rendon says that if Theo apologizes right now, he can treat it like nothing happened. There's no need for him to risk his life for the sake of pride. Theo says that's exactly what he should be saying. If he doesn't want to become a single-armed swordsman, he'd be better off accepting that he's been fired. Rendon is furious, saying that he'll act like this until the end. It seems like he would ignore the fact that Theo is so pitiful, but that won't happen. He should just kill him and pretend it was a mistake. The outcome of the match is already a given, so there's no problem, and it's better for him. Rendon nods to Theo, saying he'll let him strike first. Theo lunges forward with his blade, saying he won't back down. Rendon prepares to block, and we hear the swords clashing. All the trainees are instantly drawn into the fight, as they hear the sound of the swords clashing against each other. We see that Theo and Rendon are actually fighting, but it's clear that Rendon is pushing Theo back. They comment that Theo really doesn't seem to know how to use his sword, and at this rate, he might die, since all he can do is block the attacks. Rendon laughs and asks what happened to Theo's confidence, saying that he can't do anything against him, and that he was looking down on him. This was an obvious outcome, since Theo is not even a low-ranking swordsman, but an apprentice. If he were at least on par with one of the 4 dogs of the north, it would be a different story. But there is no way that imbecile Ragnar could beat him. We flash back to Theo asking Evelyn what she was doing suggesting this. She says it was just a gesture of goodwill. If he wants to eliminate Rendon, he needs to be thorough, because it seems he has someone's backing, and firing him won't solve the problem. Theo asks how she knows this, and she says that since Rendon was teaching a strange sword style, she had someone investigate it. After seeing how he was being taught, she thought it seemed a bit strange and excessive, and wondered where such a bad teacher came from. Theo says that Evelyn never noticed this in her past life, and maybe it's because he piqued her interest due to the incident with the mana. She puts her hand on the ground and says that all her investigation, all of Rendon's tracks, lead to one place, the Camellia Palace. Theo is surprised by this, asking if this was all because of their miserable war for the throne, and starts to get angry. Then he calms down, saying that it's surprising that she discovered this, but that with his skills, he still can't defeat Rendon. He asks what she plans to do now. She smiles, saying that he can definitely win, and that he's underestimating his own potential too much. Back in class, Ren is laughing as Shed advances with his blade, saying that if he kneels now, maybe he will forgive him. He delivers a strong blow to Theo, but Theo blocks it. Rendon begins to realize that something is wrong. As Theo's face doesn't look the least bit in siege, he continues to block the attack after the other. Rendon says that it's a little strange that he's able to do this and wonders what's going on. Suddenly, this isn't Theo. He remembers wondering how his skills grew so much. Rendon is starting to get desperate. He continues to strike her repeatedly. We see Remington watching the fight behind the trainees as everyone is surprised by the fact that it doesn't seem like Theo is being pushed back and that they were wrong, but rather that he is defending himself from the attacks. Evelyn is smiling as she already expects the result. She told Theo that a week would be more than enough if she trained him personally, as she was able to easily suppress someone like Rendonal, though ignoring the teacher and teaching him is going against the rules. Rendon is a scoundrel who has no right to be a teacher. Theo smiles, saying that he thinks things will work out that way, and that it was worth it to have Evelyn in debt to him. However, there is one thing that worries Shaman. He asks why she's going so far to help him, asking if it was because of what happened last time. This was an obvious outcome, since Theo is not even a low-ranking swordsman, but an apprentice. If he were at least on par with one of the 4 dogs of the north, it would be a different story, but there is no way that imbecile Ragnar could beat him. We flash back to Theo asking Evelyn what she was doing, suggesting this. She says it was just a gesture of goodwill. If he wants to eliminate Rendon, he needs to be thorough, because it seems he has someone's backing, and firing him won't solve the problem. Theo asks how she knows this, and she says that since Rendon was teaching a strange sword style, she had someone investigate it. After seeing how he was being taught, she thought it seemed a bit strange and excessive, and wondered where such a bad teacher came from. Theo says that Evelyn never noticed this in her past life, and maybe it's because he piqued her interest due to the incident with the mana. She puts her hand on the ground, and says that all her investigation, all of Rendon's tracks, lead to one place, the Camellia Palace. Theo is surprised by this, asking if this was all because of their miserable war for the throne, and starts to get angry. Then he calms down, saying that it's surprising that she discovered this, but that with his skills he still can't defeat Rendon. He asks what she plans to do now. She smiles, saying that he can definitely win, and that he's underestimating his own potential too much. Back in class, Rendon is laughing as Shed advances with his blade, saying that if he kneels, now maybe he will forgive him. He delivers a strong blow to Theo, but Theo blocks it. Rendon begins to realize that something is wrong. As Theo's face doesn't look the least bit uneasy, she continues to block the attacks one after the other. Rendon says that it's a little strange that he's able to do this, and wonders what's going on. Suddenly, this isn't the Theo. He remembers wondering how his skills grew so much. Rendon is starting to get desperate. He continues to strike her repeatedly. We see Remington watching the fight behind the trainees, as everyone is surprised by the fact that it doesn't seem like Theo is being pushed back and that they were wrong, but rather that he's defending himself from the attacks. Evelyn is smiling as she already expects the result. She told Theo that a week would be more than enough if she trained him personally, as she was able to easily suppress someone like Rendonal, though ignoring the teacher and teaching him is going against the rules. Rendon is a scoundrel who has no right to be a teacher. Theo smiles, saying that he thinks things will work out that way, and that it was worth it to have Evelyn in debt to him. However, there is one thing that worries Shaman. He asks why she's going so far to help him, asking if it was because of what happened last time. She says that this is part of it, but there is also someone she knows who would like him, and he is obsessed with collecting talents. Rendon's face becomes even more panicked as each of his attacks is being blocked. He says that Theo has not shown any sign of talent, or maybe he was acting like an idiot all this time. But why would he do that? Theo then asks him who is supporting him. Rendon yells, asking what he is talking about. And Theo asks if he really thought he wouldn't know that he was giving him shitty lessons all the time. Rendon says that this is absurd, saying that he tried very hard to teach him. But Theo interrupts, asking if it was the Camellia Palace. A chill runs down Rendon's spine, who wonders how he knew. And Theo smiles, saying that it is good that he is being honest, and asks if he knows what it is like to have your arm cut off. Theo then advances, swinging his blade upwards towards Rendon's arm, and before Rendon can react to the attack, just like he did to Theo in his past life, Rendon's arm is thrown into the air. Rendon looks at the arm in disbelief as it moves further and further away from his body. Theo seems determined to kill him here. Even Remington is surprised by the result, and Rendon begins to scream in pain and falls to the ground, and Theo sits watching in amusement. Rendon looks at him and begins to insult him, asking how he dared to do this to him. Theo slowly advances, saying that with this, he is sure that he has become stronger, and that he has even more room to grow than before. He asks Rendon what he told him last time, that it was his fault for having reached this point. Rendon asks what he is talking about, and Theo prepares his blade, saying that it is his fault that he is dying here today from the Ragnars, who believed in the rule of the strong. He is the weakest, saying exactly the same words he said to him when he killed him in his past life. Rendon screams, telling him to wait, but it is too late, because his head is ripped off, and in his last moments, he sees his body from afar. With this, Theo completed tutorial mission number 3, leaving everyone surprised, except Evelyn, who knew that this would be the result. Even Julius seemed to be amused. He also received a bonus reward, and the status window asks if he would like to receive the reward now, while Theo is in a state of ecstasy in front of Rendon's body. What about you? Standing there, watching? Click the like button now, and comment below if you want part 2. If you ask, we will continue.